My parents scheduled my sister's baby shower on my wedding day, so I eloped without telling anyone. You eloped without telling us? How could you be so selfish? My mother's voice cracked through the phone speaker. Selfish, I shot back, my hands trembling. You scheduled Violet's baby shower on my wedding day. The baby shower was more important. She's pregnant with our first grandchild. And I was getting married, but that never mattered to you, did it? You've always been jealous of your sister. This is just spite. Let me back up. Hi, I'm Ariana. I grew up as the older sister to Violet. And from the moment she was born, when I was 4 years old, I became invisible. My parents, Pamela and Gerald, acted like the sun rose and set with Violet. Everything she did was amazing. Everything I did was expected or ignored. When I got straight A's in middle school, they said, "Good job," and moved on. When Violet got a B+, they celebrated like she'd won the lottery. When I made varsity basketball at Jefferson High, they couldn't attend games because of Violet's cheerleading competitions. When I won the regional robotics championship, they were too busy with Violet's Sweet 16 planning to come to the awards ceremony. "Ariana, you're older," Mom would say constantly. "You need to be more understanding. Violet needs more attention right now." But right now lasted my entire childhood and beyond. I learned early to be self-sufficient. I got a part-time job at Target when I was 15, saved every paycheck, applied to colleges completely on my own. My parents didn't help with applications, didn't visit campuses with me, barely acknowledged when I got accepted to Ohio State University with a partial scholarship. Meanwhile, Violet's every achievement was documented, celebrated, plastered all over Facebook. When she made honor roll once in high school, they threw her a party at Olive Garden. When she got accepted to a mediocre community college, they acted like she'd gotten into Yale. I graduated college with a degree in accounting, landed a job at Henderson and Associates in Columbus, moved into my own apartment at 22. My parents came to visit once in 3 years. They were always too busy with Violet, helping her with homework, attending her college events, supporting her through her various crises, which were usually just normal life things she couldn't handle on her own. When I was 26, I met Daniel at a professional networking mixer downtown. He was a software developer at a tech startup, smart and funny with warm brown eyes and a laugh that made me feel lighter than air. We started dating, and for the first time in my life, I felt like someone's first choice. "Your family sounds challenging," he said carefully after meeting them for the first time at a barbecue. "That's a polite way of putting it," I replied. "They barely asked you anything. Every conversation went straight back to Violet. Welcome to my life." Daniel's family was the complete opposite. His parents, Patricia and William, were warm and welcoming from day one. They asked about my work, my interests, my opinions on everything from politics to pizza toppings. His sister Natalie became one of my closest friends within months. They made me feel valued in a way my own family never had. After 2 years of dating, Daniel proposed. It was perfect, a sunset picnic at Goodale Park where we'd had our first date. Nothing elaborate or showy, but deeply meaningful. I cried happy tears and said yes immediately, my heart feeling like it might burst. I called my parents to share the news, my hands still shaking with excitement. "That's nice, honey," Mom said distractedly. "Oh, did you hear Violet got promoted to assistant manager at the boutique in Easton?" "Mom, I just got engaged." "Yes, that's wonderful. When is Violet coming over? We want to celebrate her promotion." That should have been my first warning sign about how wedding planning would go. Daniel and I set a date, June 15th, a Saturday afternoon ceremony followed by a reception at the barn at Walnut Creek. Nothing huge, maybe 80 guests, but nice. We booked the beautiful venue with its rustic charm and sprawling gardens, hired a photographer, started making plans that actually excited me. My parents showed minimal interest in any of it. "Whatever you want, dear," Dad said when I asked if they'd both walk me down the aisle. "Just let us know the details. Can you help with the guest list? I need addresses for your side of the family." "I'll get to it eventually." They never did. I had to track down addresses myself through other relatives, feeling like I was begging for scraps of their attention once again. Meanwhile, Violet started dating Brett, a guy she met at a sports bar in the short north. They had known each other 3 months when she announced she was pregnant. My parents were absolutely ecstatic. "A grandbaby!" Mom shrieked over the phone. "Oh, this is the best news ever!" They immediately started planning everything. Baby shower, nursery decoration, buying clothes and furniture at Bye Bye Baby. Money they'd never offered for my wedding was suddenly flowing freely for Violet's pregnancy. "We're thinking a big baby shower," Mom announced at a family dinner at their house in Westerville. "Maybe 100 people. We want everyone to celebrate." "That sounds nice," I said, trying to be supportive despite the knot forming in my stomach. "When are you thinking?" "We are looking at dates in June. The baby's due in July, so we want to do it before she gets too uncomfortable." My wedding was June 15th. I'd told them multiple times. It was literally on their refrigerator calendar in bright red marker. 2 weeks later, Mom called. "We've set the baby shower date, June 15th. We've already booked the venue at the Grand Event Center and sent save the dates." My blood went cold. My hands started shaking. "That's my wedding day." "Oh, is it? Well, we can't change it now. The venue was the only availability we could get. You'll have to move your wedding." "Move my wedding? Everything's booked and paid for." "Ariana, be reasonable. Violet is pregnant. She can't be on her feet for a wedding and a baby shower on different days. This is the only option. The only option is for you to move the baby shower. We've already sent save the dates to 100 people. We're not changing it. You only have 80 guests. It's easier for you to move." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. My mother was actually suggesting I upend my entire wedding because they deliberately scheduled Violet's baby shower on the same day. "You scheduled a baby shower on my wedding day and expect me to change my plans?" "Yes, family comes first. Ariana, Violet needs this." I hung up, just pressed the red button and ended the call, my hands trembling with rage and hurt. Daniel found me crying on our apartment couch 20 minutes later, mascara running down my face. "What happened?" He sat down and pulled me close. I told him everything, the words tumbling out between sobs. His face went from concern to absolutely furious. "They want you to move your wedding? Apparently the baby shower is more important. We've paid deposits. We have guests flying in from Seattle and Miami. This is absolutely insane." I called my parents back the next day, trying desperately to stay calm and rational. "Can we please find a compromise? Maybe do the baby shower the following weekend?" "Absolutely not," Dad said firmly. "The date is set. You need to be flexible." "I've been flexible my entire life. This is my wedding. And Violet is having our first grandchild. That takes priority. So I'm supposed to cancel my wedding or postpone it for months? What's the big deal? Just pick a different date." The big deal was that they'd never cared about anything important to me. This was the final confirmation that I would always, always come second to Violet. Nothing I did would ever matter as much as anything she did. I talked to Daniel that night after hours of crying and thinking. "I have an idea, but it's extreme," I said quietly. "Tell me. What if we just eloped? Small ceremony, just us and a couple of witnesses. We keep the honeymoon reservations, have our actual wedding, and don't tell anyone until after." He was quiet for a long moment, processing. "Your family will be furious. They chose a baby shower over my wedding. I'm done trying to get them to care." "Then let's do it." He squeezed my hand. "If they can't be bothered to show up for you, why should we wait for them?" We made plans quietly over the next few days. We told Natalie and my best friend Casey, who agreed to be witnesses. We booked a small chapel in German Village for June 10th, 5 days before the original date. We'd have a tiny ceremony, go on our honeymoon to the Florida Keys as planned, and let everyone else figure it out. The week before our secret wedding, my parents called multiple times asking about the baby shower, if I'd be attending, what gift I was bringing for Violet. Could I help set up tables? "I haven't decided," I said vaguely. "Well, make sure you're there. It's important to Violet." "We'll see." On June 10th, Daniel and I got married in the small chapel on 3rd Street, with Natalie and Casey as witnesses. It was simple and absolutely perfect. I wore a short ivory dress from Nordstrom, carried a small bouquet of peonies, and married the love of my life without the people who'd never appreciated me standing there pretending to care. We went to dinner afterward at the Pearl, just the 4 of us, celebrating with champagne and lobster ravioli. Then Daniel and I left for our honeymoon in Key West the next morning. We turned off our phones completely and spent 2 glorious weeks enjoying being newlyweds, swimming in turquoise water and watching sunsets from our balcony. June 15th came and went. I didn't think about the baby shower or the wedding we'd canceled without telling anyone. I was in Key West watching dolphins and feeling happier than I'd ever been in my entire life. We got back on June 28th. I turned on my phone to 300 missed calls and text messages. Voicemails from my parents ranging from confused to absolutely furious. Messages from relatives demanding to know what happened. Apparently on June 15th, about 60 of my wedding guests showed up at the barn at Walnut Creek. My parents weren't there. They were at Violet's baby shower at the Grand Event Center across town. But Daniel's family was there. My friends from work, my co-workers from Henderson and Associates, distant relatives who had driven from Pittsburgh and Indianapolis. The venue staff had no ceremony to host. No bride, no groom, nothing. Patricia and William tried calling us frantically, got no answer. Natalie finally told everyone we'd eloped and were on our honeymoon. The guests were confused and shocked. Some were angry about wasted travel expenses and hotel bookings, but Daniel's family understood why we'd done it. The real explosion came when my parents found out. "You eloped without telling us?" Mom's voice was shrill on the voicemail. "How could you be so selfish?" "Selfish? You scheduled Violet's baby shower on my wedding day." The baby shower was more important. She's pregnant with our first grandchild. And I was getting married, but that never mattered to you, did it? You've always been jealous of your sister. This is just spite. Jealous? I was screaming now, 26 years of pain pouring out. I spent my whole life being ignored while you worshipped Violet. I'm done begging for crumbs of attention from you. We are your parents. You owed us the chance to be at your wedding. You chose not to be at my wedding. You picked a baby shower instead. I just made it easier for you. Mom started crying. How can you be so cruel? We wanted to see you get married. Then you shouldn't have scheduled something else on the same day. Actions have consequences. I hung up, blocked their numbers. Blocked Violet too, when she sent nasty messages about how I'd ruined her baby shower by creating drama with my disappearing act. The fallout was extensive and brutal. Extended family took sides immediately. Some understood why I'd done it, sending supportive messages. Others thought I was petty and vindictive, calling me names behind my back. You should have been the bigger person, my Aunt Sharon said when she called. Family is family. I was the bigger person for 26 years. I'm done. My parents tried reaching out through other relatives. Cousins, my grandmother, even our old neighbor, Mrs. Henderson. I refused all contact, standing firm in my decision. Daniel supported me completely, never once suggesting I was being too harsh. You gave them 1,000 chances, he said, holding me while I cried angry tears. They blew every single one. Violet had her baby in July, a daughter named Isabella. My parents posted hundreds of photos on Facebook. Threw a huge welcome home party with pink balloons everywhere, documented every single moment like she was the first baby ever born. I saw none of it in person. Didn't meet my niece. Didn't send a gift. Didn't acknowledge it at all. Aren't you curious about the baby? Natalie asked gently one afternoon. Not really. That baby will be raised by the same people who ignored me my whole life. I don't need that relationship. My parents tried showing up at my apartment 3 months after the wedding. I watched through this peephole as they knocked, but I didn't let them in. We need to talk about this, Dad said through the door. There's nothing to talk about. You made your choice. We are sorry. We should have moved the baby shower. Too late. They left eventually, their shoulders slumped. They sent a letter a week later apologizing and asking for another chance. I threw it away without reading it fully, catching only phrases like, didn't mean to hurt you and want to be in your life. The thing is, their apology wasn't really an apology. It was, we're sorry you were hurt, not, we're sorry we hurt you. It was, we should have handled it differently, not, we were wrong to prioritize Violet over you your entire life. They still didn't get it. They probably never would. Life moved on without them. And honestly, it was beautiful. Daniel and I bought a house in Clintonville with a big backyard and a front porch. I got promoted to senior accountant at Henderson and Associates. We started talking about having kids of our own. His family became my family in every way that mattered. Holidays with Patricia and William, who actually wanted me there. Game nights with Natalie and her husband Greg. Sunday dinners with Daniel's extended relatives who asked about my week and remembered details about my life. Meanwhile, my parents' lives got complicated in ways I heard about through the family grapevine. Violet had a second baby 18 months after the first, another girl named Sophia. Brett couldn't handle 2 kids and the stress and financial pressure. He started spending more time at bars, less time at home, drinking his paycheck away. They separated when Sophia was 6 months old. Brett moving back in with his parents. Violet moved back in with my parents, both kids in tow. Suddenly, my parents were raising 2 babies in their early 60s, exhausted and overwhelmed. Dad had been planning to retire at 65. Instead, he kept working to support Violet and the girls, his back hurting and his stress levels through the roof. Mom couldn't do her part-time consulting work anymore because she was constantly babysitting, changing diapers at an age when she should have been traveling. "We're exhausted," Mom told Aunt Sharon, who passed it along to me during a phone call. "We never expected to be raising small children again at our age. That's what happens when you enable someone their whole life," I said without sympathy. Violet never learned to be independent, never learned to handle consequences, never learned to solve her own problems. She always had Mom and Dad to fix everything. Now they were stuck with the results of their parenting choices, and I felt zero guilt about it. I heard through relatives that they kept asking about me, wondering if I'd come help with the girls, suggesting it would be good for me to know my nieces. I never responded to any of it. 2 years after my wedding, I got pregnant. Daniel and I were absolutely thrilled, crying happy tears when we saw those 2 pink lines. We told his family, our friends, people we actually cared about. We didn't tell my parents. They found out through Facebook when I posted a pregnancy announcement at 20 weeks. A photo of baby shoes and a positive test. Mom called from a number I didn't have blocked. I answered by accident while driving. "You're pregnant and you didn't tell us?" "Why would I tell you? We don't have a relationship." "We're your parents. This is our grandchild." "No, this is my child. You already have grandchildren. Focus on them." "Can't we move past this? Life is too short for grudges." "This isn't a grudge. This is me protecting my child from people who would ignore them the same way they ignored me." "We never ignored you. You scheduled a baby shower on my wedding day. You've ignored me my entire life. My child doesn't need grandparents who play favorites." I hung up and changed my number that same day. They sent letters to my house. I threw them away without opening them. My daughter Harper was born healthy and perfect, with Daniel's brown eyes and my smile. Patricia and William were at the hospital, helped us bring her home, were constant presences in her life. That's what real grandparents look like. People who show up, who care, who make you feel loved. When Harper was 6 months old, Dad had a heart attack. Not fatal, but serious. He survived but needed lifestyle changes, medication, stress reduction, things his current life couldn't provide. Mom called Natalie, begging her to convince me to visit. He needs to see his daughter, meet his granddaughter. This health scare has made him realize what's important. I didn't go. I sent flowers to Ohio State Medical Center with a generic "hope you recover" note. That was it. "You're really not going to see him?" Natalie asked carefully. "Even after a heart attack?" He had 30 years to realize I was important. A heart attack doesn't change decades of neglect. Some people thought I was heartless. I thought I was protecting my peace and my daughter's well-being from people who would damage it. Dad recovered but retired 5 years later than planned because of supporting Violet financially. They sold their house, downsized to a condo because they depleted their retirement savings. Violet eventually got her own apartment, but the girls spent most of their time with my parents because she couldn't handle being a single mom. Meanwhile, my life was beautiful. Harper was smart and funny and so loved. Daniel and I had a second child, a son named Cooper, when Harper was 3. We had family game nights, vacations to Disney World, traditions that made our house feel like home. My kids knew their grandparents, Patricia and William. They spent every holiday with people who adored them, who showed up for soccer games, piano recitals, and school plays. When Harper was 5, she asked, "How come I only have one grandma and grandpa?" Some people have more, some have less. I explained carefully, choosing my words. What matters is being surrounded by people who love you. I have lots of people who love me, she said confidently, and my heart swelled. Yes, baby, you do. 5 years after my elopement, my parents sent a final letter. A long one, detailed, actually taking responsibility for their favoritism, acknowledging how they'd failed me, begging for a chance to be in their grandchildren's lives. I read it this time, sitting at my kitchen table. It was better than previous attempts, more self-aware and genuine. They used words like wrong and failed and sorry. But it was also 5 years too late. 5 years during which they'd made no real effort except occasional letters. 5 years during which I'd built a beautiful life without them. A life I wasn't willing to risk disrupting. I wrote back once, short and simple. I appreciate the apology, but the relationship is beyond repair. Please stop contacting me. I wish you well, but I don't want a relationship with you. Respect that. They finally stopped trying after that. Or maybe they were just too tired. They were in their late 60s now, still helping raise Violet's kids, exhausted and broke, and facing a retirement nothing like what they'd planned. Violet, last I heard through the grapevine, was on her third failed relationship, still working retail at the mall, still depending on our parents for everything from rent money to childcare. Her girls were growing up with the same dynamic I had, except reversed. They were the golden grandchildren because they were all my parents had. Sometimes I wonder if I should feel guilty about cutting them off so completely. Then I remember standing alone while they celebrated Violet elsewhere. I remember every missed basketball game, every forgotten achievement, every time I came second to my younger sister. I don't feel guilty anymore after that. My children will never know what it's like to be the second choice. They'll never wonder if their grandparents loved them. They'll never feel invisible in their own family. Now that's my victories, not revenge, not spite, just building something better than what I had. Daniel asks occasionally if I think I'll ever reconcile with them. Maybe when they're older, when they really need you. They've needed me to be their daughter for 30 years. I needed them to be my parents. Neither of us got what we needed. That chapter is closed, permanently. No regrets, no looking back. Last month, I got promoted to partner at Henderson & Associates. Youngest person to make partner in the firm's 50-year history. Patricia and William threw me a celebration dinner at their house. My kids made cards with crayons. Daniel gave a toast about how proud he was, his voice cracking with emotion. My parents don't know about the promotion, don't know about Cooper's first day of kindergarten, don't know about Harper's piano recital where she played Beethoven. They're strangers who happen to share some DNA with me. That's all they ever really were. If your parents scheduled a major family event on your wedding day and refused to change it, would you move your wedding to accommodate them? Or would you do something drastic like eloping to prove a point? Because I chose myself, and I'd make the same choice again in a heartbeat.